Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Growfolds, and today is a special day just because we're going to be doing some plant tourism and heading off to Fort Worth, Texas to visit one of my favorite plant nurseries. It's going to be a little bit different, and as always, please make sure you are hitting the like button. But today we have traveled to Metro Maples, which is a Japanese maple nursery that specializes in obviously Japanese maples, or what you would call Acer Palmatum. This is a special nursery just because I have been visiting this nursery for the last 5 years. I purchased a lot of Japanese maples, and I know that a lot of you guys look at the tropical plants and indoor plants, but today I wanted to do something different and give you guys a little bit different content to show you some outdoor landscaping featuring Acer Palmatum, or what you call Japanese maples. Now, Metro Maples specializes with different types of maples, but primarily it is Japanese maples. It is one of those places where you would need to set up an appointment. It is open to the public, and you can see right here, this is an Acer Griseum, or a paper bark maple. You can see the texture of the bark right there is really nice, but I love going to this plant nursery, especially in 2020 when we were in the midst of a pandemic. I would go here, travel from North Dallas, which is where I am based at, just so I could just be out in nature and look at all of the beautiful maples. You can see that all of their live oaks haven't fully woken up, but look at all these beautiful colors, these crimson reds, those yellows and greens. So this is going to be a special type of plant shopping nursery tour, and I really hope you guys will stick around and appreciate the maples. But right over here is one of the maples that you can grow in full sun. This is an Acer truncatum, or what you call a Shantung maple. A Shantung maple is native to China, and you can see that these are, how much are these? These are for $995. These are really large maples, and actually Metro Maples has a lot of cultivars, and if you don't know what a cultivar is basically a sub of what a specific species, and they specialize also in Acer truncatums. Now, if you live out in the south in Texas, the summers are extremely hot, and the Shantung maples actually do very well because they can take that heat. Now, this is a beautiful laceleaf type maple. I don't have the specific plant ID for it, but you can see how elegant these Acer Palmatums, dissectums, or laceleaf maples. And look at how the morning sun just hits this Acer Palmatum Yezo Nishiki. Now, with Japanese maples, they are typically slower growing. They aren't vigorous growers, so it would take a while for them to get this size. But when they do, look at how that red just dances with the light. And I love it. You know, when I first moved to Dallas, I was all about Japanese maples just because they are actually grown all over these landscapes in North Dallas. You'd be surprised about how many Japanese maples you will see, and you can see how elegant it is. One of my dreams is to actually travel into Japan maybe 3 years from now to see Japanese maples. This channel originally started out as an origami ASMR channel, and I actually fold origami paper cranes daily, and that's the thing, anything Japanese related, Japanese culture, I love. So for those that want to get to know me, that's just a little tidbit. And I just want to pan over here. We haven't even gone into the nursery. This is just the entrance, and you are already greeted with all of these maple trees that have started to just come out in leaf. Now, right over here, I love these dwarf type Japanese maples. These are Acer Palmatum Rhode Island Red. So Rhode Island Red actually is what you would consider a miniature version of another Acer Palmatum, which is the Bloodgood. It's the typical red Japanese maple you would see, but this one actually is the miniature version. I want to get one of these actually in my landscape because I love how that red is. It's so gorgeous, and the leaves just look like miniature Acer Palmatum Bloodgood. So for those who love Japanese maples, this is a treat, and I will actually be visiting this maple nursery a little bit more frequently so I can show you the progression of the leaf colors and the changes. But you can see right here, Acer Palmatum Rhode Island Red. These leaves are just starting to really open up. Love that red tone. Plant foldies, and if you are new to this channel, please make sure you are hitting that like button and subscribing. I do call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. Please leave in the comments what you think about this Japanese maple content, if you like it, if you want to see more, and if you are in the live premiere chat, please let me know if you grow Japanese maples. Now, I know I have a lot of Canadians that watch my videos. Let me know if you guys like maples. Obviously, there's a lot of maples out in Canada. And then for those that are in the Pacific Northwest, I'm actually jealous because most of these maples are sourced out from the Pacific Northwest because they have more favorable weather, I would say, for these types of maples. Now, with all of the Japanese maples you'll see right here, this one is an Acer Palmatum Shoujo Shidare for $1,695. Now, if you guys are looking at the pricing, it may seem a little bit pricey for Japanese maples, but one thing you have to understand when it comes to Japanese maples is it takes a very long time to grow these maples, unless it's like an Acer truncatum, which is a more vigorous type maple, like a Shangtung maple. This one is an Acer truncatum baby dragon. So the thing that's special about Metro maples is it actually hybridizes a lot of Acer truncatum or Shangtung maples. This is one of the nurseries that actually has made a lot of cultivars. So this is one of their personal cultivars, the baby dragon. Can take full sun. It's one of the what you would call a weeping type maple, which is basically a maple that cascades. But as we go further into this nursery, you can see that there's just already a lot of maples, a lot of colors to look at. If I visit this maple place in another week or two, you'll see even more maples budding out and actually unfurling their leaves. Like, look at this. I don't remember what the specific Japanese maple ID is, but every time I visit this, I am just in awe. So I just want to go admire how gorgeous this the color of the red is. See the magnificent colors of that Japanese maple right there, and I am just in awe, and I love Metro maples. You can see that they also have Satsuki azaleas, so these have just started to bloom. Satsuki azaleas are basically azaleas that were hybridized by the Japanese. They have a long history. You can actually see that there are a lot of cultivars and varieties of Satsuki azaleas. What I really like about Metro maples is they have an amazing staff. I've gotten to know Scott Hubble, who is the owner and the person who runs Metro Maples, and his assistant Steve. They've just always been very kind to me. I remember when I visited this maple nursery out in 2019, I was just really excited because I've never seen a plant nursery that specialized in a specific type of plant. Like, this is a Japanese maple nursery. Here, right over here, we're going to look at is an Acer truncatum super dragon. This is another cultivar or a plant or tree that they actually hybridize here at this nursery. And what makes it special is the super dragon has more of a yellow tone about it. Now, most Acer truncatums or Shangtung maples are very much heat tolerant. They can grow in full sun, especially with Texas weather where our summers are 100+ degrees and we can go for like 2 months straight without any type of rain. It's been kind of crazy. But with the Acer truncatum super dragon, unfortunately, this one isn't as heat tolerant of a maple. So this one is more suitable for shade or more bright indirect light. It would be one of those types of maples that would need to be grown under a canopy. This one doesn't get as large either, but I love the fact that Acer truncatum super dragon is available. This is considered a rare type of maple, and you can see that it is under a tree canopy. And I did want to just walk over here again at the entrance and just show you how magnificent all of these trees are. Now, what I like about Metro maples as well is any type of Japanese maple, especially if you are a local plant foldy or somebody that lives in the North Dallas, Fort Worth area, instead of having to go through an online shopping for, specific Japanese maples, you can get maples as large as this one right here and get it for a very good price. They do have different types of sizing. I know for the 1 gallon Japanese maples, they start at 25, then it goes up to 35, and then I think it goes up to 45. So I think that's a really good deal if you want to just get starter maples. One thing I would also suggest is if you are going to start growing Japanese maples in your garden, really check your zones. I'm not an expert of how, the zone conditions and when to plant maples, but for Texas or out in the South, the best time to plant a Japanese maple into the ground would be now, just because you need to make sure that you give the Japanese maple time to really acclimate and get those roots established before it gets really hot. And actually, the best time to really plant maples into the ground is actually in the fall, right before they go dormant, just because it gives them a lot of time to actually establish the roots and then go dormant and then wake up in the spring. So you can see all of these beautiful colors right here. The thing about Japanese maples is there's hundreds of cultivars, hundreds of varieties, and they're constantly hybridizing them as well. So again, this is a little bit different content for those that actually look for my plant content, my big box store plant shopping videos where we feature house plants. I just think that, Japanese maples has another type of niche. So if you are a maple lover, a Japanese maple aficionado, please make sure you are subscribing to my channel, because I will be featuring my Japanese maples, and I will definitely do a lot more videos in terms of just Japanese maple content. It is one of my favorite types of plants, and you can see why. Just the elegance, just the beauty of it. Look at that. I love this Acer Palmatum Nursery. This is another cultivar right here, and it is a very tall one. Now these types of Japanese maples, like if you want to get instant gratification, highly recommend Metro maples, just because then you don't have to wait like 15 years or so for a tree to get this large. You can get one right now, and I don't know, it just takes my breath away every time I look at these plants. And then for $2,695, you can get something as stunning as this in your landscape. Like, that is something that I would personally add into my collection. The only thing is, I've talked about this before with my Japanese maples, I'm still waiting to get those overstory canopy trees, like a live oak. I have a Shangtung maple I bought from Metro Maples 5 years ago called the Acer Truncatum Fire Dragon, and that is what's going to provide that shade for my backyard to where I can grow multiple types of Japanese maples. So you can see Japanese maples have different types of growing patterns. This one is an Acer Palmatum Verdes, and this one is a laceleaf maple that actually cascades, so it doesn't really grow upright. So they have different types of Japanese maples. You have Japanese maples that cascade. We have Japanese maples that you would be called an upright type of Japanese maple, where it grows up and actually becomes a tree. And there's different varieties. You have broom style Japanese maples that kind of just become like a little ball, like you saw earlier, the Acer Palmatum Rhode Island Red, for instance. And you can see here another Acer Palmatum Verdes right here. This one is a smaller one, but you can see that this tree has taken a while to grow. So again, with Japanese maples, the only drawback is it takes a while for them to get a good size. So a plant nursery like this, especially in the South, featuring large trees like this one is an Acer Palmatum Arakawa, for instance. This one is known as the snake bark maple, because you can see the Japanese maples don't have this really rough bark type. This is what makes Arakawa special, because it starts to cork up and bark up as it gets older. It is an older type of Japanese maple cultivar. It's one of those original cultivars that really have a history with Japanese culture. It's really good for bonsai, and you can see that this one is a large specimen. Like, I would love to add this into my home. Obviously I need to have my space in my landscape. So plant foldies and anybody watching Japanese maple content, what type of Japanese maples are you growing? What do you prefer? How do you grow them? Please leave that in the comments. And you can see right over here, we've got another Acer Palmatum Verdes. Let's see how much the price is for this one. So this one is for $695. That's actually not a bad price at all, considering it is already a fairly established Japanese maple. And that's the thing. There are literally hundreds of cultivars that Scott Hubble at Metro Maples offers. And again, if you ever are like, going to Dallas and you are a fan of Japanese maples, definitely make an appointment with Metro Maples because they will show you all sorts of Japanese maples. I do like collecting the 1 gallon type Japanese maples, but if you are looking for something as large as this green cascade, they've got these available as well. They also offer a lot of Ginkgo trees, so different types of cultivars of Ginkgo trees, different types of Acers. So they've got different Acer families like Acer Palmatums, Acer Pictums, Acer Truncatums, Acer Sobodianums, all of that. Those are all available here. And I wanted to go back here and show you this Acer Truncatum baby dragon. Now, what's really cool about the Acer Truncatum baby dragon is it's actually considered a weeping type of maple. This one can take full sun. It's got smaller leaves, so it's a cascading type of Shangtung maple. I really like that a lot. That is another cultivar that is unique and was created at Metro Maple. So if you see an Acer Palmatum baby dragon being offered at another nursery, just know that the original one came from Metro Maples. And you can see right over here, this maple, this Japanese maple, is just starting to unfurl its leaves. And then this one is a large Japanese maple. This is an Acer Sobodianum Sode no Uchi, which is $725. So this is another type of Acer or a maple. It's not a palmatum. This is a Sobodianum, which means that this one is a little bit more cold hardy. It can tolerate colder conditions. So I think that's really cool. Really like that a lot. And that is actually a large one as well. And we're gonna walk over here and just keep looking at some of the Japanese maples. And that's the thing I like about this nursery. There's so many things I could talk about this nursery, but just the varieties. Like this one is an Acer Palmatum Shoujo Shidare for $325. This one is considered a laceleaf maple. So the laceleaf Japanese maples are actually a little less tolerant of hot conditions. So they really need to be protected from afternoon sun. And you can see this is another Acer Palmatum Inaba Shidare. And that one is just starting to unfurl its leaves. Now that's actually the best time to plant a Japanese maple is before it starts to really grow out its leaves. So these ones have already unfurled their leaves. But if you are in the South, especially in North Dallas, the best time is when they're not, when they are considered dormant or asleep to plant them in. It doesn't mean that you can't plant them now, but if you are planning on like planting something like this is Acer Palmatum Green Cascade, you want to go ahead and get this in the ground for this this zone, just so you can give it time to really establish its roots. If you ask me, most of these Japanese maples really do need to get into the ground, but you can see there's just a lot of varieties of Japanese maples at Metro Maples. This one is an Acer Palmatum Firecracker, and you can see that it has a little difference in the leaves. These leaves are very elegant, very delicate looking, very fragile looking, but even when you walk away from it, you can see how that red is just fire. And that's the thing that makes Japanese maples very appealing for the landscape. There's a certain elegance you get from it. Now, with most Japanese maples, they need to be planted in soil that is fast draining and slightly acidic. They prefer that. It's slightly acidic. That way, the watering and the nutrients you give these Japanese maples are a little bit more efficient if it's more acidic. And this one is a huge Acer Palmatum Red Emperor. Wow. Now this Acer Palmatum Red Emperor, and you can see that this is several years old. This is for $3,995. Again, if you were to get something this, try to grow it this size, it would take at least 15, maybe even 20 years to get this size. So I feel like the pricing is fair. And if you want something as magnificent and magnanimous, whatever, adjectives you want to say about that Emperor one, I would go to Metro Maples. And then right over here is Acer Palmatum Red Sentinel. So this one is for $695. And this type of Japanese maple is what you consider a columnar type maple. It's one of those that look like a column. It's got more of a narrow upright form about it. So those would really be good planted next to each other if you want columns of Japanese maples. There's actually different types of varieties. And then we're going to walk over here and look at some dwarf maple. So this is an Acer Palmatum Morisaki Kiyohime. This one actually can get up to, you know, maybe 4 feet in height and spread up to like 6 feet. So it's actually spreads wide. What I love about this Japanese maple, and this one's for $650. I actually bought a Murasaki Kiyohime from Scott and Metro Maples about 4 to 5 years ago. And mine has actually grown as large as that. I bought mine for, I think, $75. And it's one of those Japanese maples that actually leaf out earlier than most. And you can see right over here, there is a kitty cat. This one is, I think, a stray. They don't really have a name for it. It just kind of lives here. But look at how gorgeous the little black cat is. Anyways, you can see here is another Acer Palmatum Murasaki Kiyohime. This one is $450, but you can see that it's got a mounding, more of like a ball shape about it. So for those that have smaller space gardens, they've got dwarf maples. Now, again, for all Japanese maples, they really need to be protected from afternoon sun. They can't really tolerate really hot weather. So you're going to have to really look at whether you have an irrigation or type of watering system. They like to be understory type trees. And you can see that these are all Murasaki Kiyohime Japanese maples. So love the dwarf maples. They make great bonsai specimens as well, just because they have smaller leaves. And you can see right over here, we've got an Acer Palmatum Shishigashira, which has more clumping on its leaves. It's got a different texture. This one's for $495. That's actually not a bad price for a Shishigashira, or what you call a lion head Japanese maple. They've got different varieties of Shishigashira, but that is another Japanese maple that looks really good for bonsai as well, just because the leaves stay compact. Take a look at the texture of the leaves. An Acer Palmatum Twombly's Red Sentinel. So this is another Japanese maple that is a columnar type one that just kind of grows up narrow and upright. And I just want to keep showing you guys more. Like, look at this. This is fire. This is an Acer Palmatum Rhode Island Red. I think this is one of my wish list type Japanese maples. And you better believe I'm going to buy it from Scott Hubble at Metro Maples maybe in a year or two. Look at that. I just want to admire that red. I mean, let me know in the comments what you think. Isn't it just gorgeous? Now, when it comes to Japanese maples, you can't like take a seed from Acer Palmatum Rhode Island Red and expect it to grow that variety. All cultivars for Japanese maples are actually grafted onto a rootstock, which is basically just like a typical green Japanese maple. But what has happened is when there are some Japanese seedlings, you know, Japanese maple seedlings, there are certain seedlings that may have like a different characteristic. For instance, like the Rhode Island Red has red foliage, but only grows up to a certain height and spreads. And whenever that's identified, you know, hybridizers will graft them on. So all of these Japanese maples you see, like this Acer Palmatum dissectum watnong, is actually grafted onto as a seedling, if that makes any sense. So like Japanese maples, these cultivars, you can't just get an exact replica of a specific one through seed. These all have to be grafted onto a like a rootstock plant, if that makes any sense. You can possibly air layer, you know, off of a Japanese maple cultivar to get that clone. But like, for instance, this Acer Palmatum Verdice, I don't know how you pronounce it, but these, they would take a scion and actually graft it onto a rootstock and grow it out. Now this one right here is for $375. Really nice chartreuse green color for this Acer Palmatum Verdice. So that's the beauty of Japanese maples. And it's really interesting because it seems like more and more varieties are coming out because of the mutations in the seedlings that they would find. Here is an Acer Palmatum Orangiola. So this is another cascading type Japanese maple that hasn't fully leafed out yet. This one is for $450. It's a nice looking Japanese maple just because it does have that lace leaf look about it. It's a little bit more cascading than some of the other ones. And you can see that this cat, if you guys want to name that cat, just likes to follow me as I walk around this nursery. But as you can see, there's just a little bit of a different type of growing condition. There is a huge following for Japanese maples. You know, I would say Metro Maples is obviously one of my favorite Japanese maples nurseries just because it is local and I'm all about supporting local. And you can see right over here, this is an Acer Palmatum Kurui Jishi, which is another reference to some type of lion, and you can see that the leaf shape is a little bit different. It's got a little bit more of a different texture, and then this is the price for it. So I have always been into Japanese maples. I've just, you know, I like all different types of plants, but I just felt like, you know, featuring Metro Maples, I think everybody needs to see the beauty of Japanese maples. There is something elegant about it, and there's just so much joy. You get so many different types of colors in the spring and in the fall, and that's why I'm actually really jealous of those that live out in the Pacific Northwest, because you can grow these actually in full sun and they will not burn. Now, if you try to grow Japanese maples out in the South, unless you have some good shade or that maple has acclimated to the heat, they will burn. That is only the drawback. Here is an Acer Palmatum Sangukaku, which is one of the oldest types of Japanese cultivars. This one has red stems, and that's what makes it interesting. That's what you would call a coral bark maple. There's different types of cultivars now that have different colors like peach or even like a deep purple. So I like that a lot. The fall color for a Sangukaku or a coral bark maple is a bright apple yellow tone, and I really like that a lot. And you can see they've got different types of growth patterns. This one is more upright and narrow. I don't have the plant ID for this particular Japanese maple, but you can see as this morning sun hits the light of, you know, the leaves on it, it just illuminates it, and it really just looks so stunning. Let me know in the comments, plant foldies, what you think so far of the Japanese maples. Let me know if you grow Japanese maples and what your favorite cultivars are. And you can see this one right here is another Acer Palmatum Shishigashira. This one is massive. I would say this is probably a 20-year-old tree, and this one is being offered. Now, I think this is like in the $4,000 range. But again, if you want something as gorgeous as this and you want instant gratification, I would go to Metro Maples and definitely purchase it. I've known people that have traveled all over Texas and even as far as Oklahoma to buy trees like this, because then you can actually get large Japanese maples, because most of these mail order Japanese maple companies, they can only send so many smaller varieties of Japanese maples, but these are definitely a lot larger, a lot healthier, and you can ask a lot of questions because they are very much into it. You can see right here again these Acer Palmatum Shishigashira, and I just love how that morning light comes. I like to visit Metro Maples at least 3 to 4 times a year, and I love going in the morning just because of the morning sun. There is something peaceful about it. I would say if you are a plant lover and you are, you know, visiting the Dallas-Fort Worth area, definitely check out Metro Maples, even just to see it. I would even consider it as more of like a arboretum type garden, someplace that you can just really enjoy the maples. I do want to show you Acer Palmatum Fire Glow. Now this one is not a bad price. Now what's special about Fire Glow is the leaves are probably the most electrifying when the sunlight hits it. Like, look at that. $375 for this gorgeous Acer Palmatum Fire Glow is not a bad price at all. what makes it special is when the light hits it, it just starts to really glow. It's got one of the most intense reds you can see when the light hits it. And then you can see this one is semi-dormant, or one that hasn't fully awakened yet. These are some more cascading lace leaf type Japanese maples. Now this one is an Acer Palmatum crossed with a Shirasawam type maple. This is called Tropenberg. Now this is one of the more vigorous type of Japanese maples. This Japanese maple can really get tall very quickly when it's established, which takes about 3 to 4 years. It can put up to 9 to 12 inches of growth per year. I actually bought one from Metro Maples. I have it in my backyard, and it's already put on about 1.5 feet in the first year that it's been in the ground. And that's another thing. So you can grow Japanese maples in planters, but it can get a little bit tricky. The best thing for what I would suggest is getting Japanese maples directly planted in a landscape in the ground. They have a higher chance of surviving, cold winters and even really hot summers, because their roots have a little bit more space to grow. It does take, I would say most Japanese maples don't really show a lot of growth in the first year or two that you put them in the ground. They spend a lot of their energy actually establishing a good root system. And then after like the year 3 or 4 is when you really see a lot of that growth and size for Japanese maples. And I will say that Japanese maples don't have invasive root systems like maybe a silver maple or even some of those rubium, Acer rubium type Japanese or maples. They won't mess with your foundation, house foundation, which is good. I do want to show you guys now some Ginkgo biloba or Marican. So I know plant foldy, some of you guys have not really seen a Ginkgo tree. There's different types of cultivars. Now the Marican is actually a Ginkgo tree that stays very dwarf. I've got 2 of them growing. I have one in the front yard and one in the backyard. They've got more of a very compact growing pattern about it. And Ginkgo trees unfortunately are also another type of tree that is a very slow grower. Some of them are a little bit more vigorous than others, but the dwarf varieties typically do not grow very quickly. I do have some variegated forms that I was able to get from the Pacific Northwest, but you can see right here is an Acer Palmatum Magyar. Now this one is an upright type of not Japanese maple, Ginkgo tree, and it can actually grow very large as well. And the problem with finding Ginkgo trees is, and I was talking about this with Scott when I visited, is it's difficult to source out ones that are really large. The most you will probably get would be like a 6 or 7 foot Ginkgo tree. But Ginkgo trees, especially certain varieties, can get up to 60 to 70 feet tall. The story of a Ginkgo tree is the Ginkgo tree is actually a prehistoric type tree that was really prevalent during the dinosaur age, but a lot of it got wiped out except for one that apparently was cultivated by the Chinese, and now they've kind of multiplied. So it's actually one of the oldest type trees in existence. It's a very tolerant tree. Ginkgo trees are. They can tolerate drought, they can tolerate not favorable type soils, and they can tolerate full sun. And what's gorgeous about the Ginkgo tree is in the fall, it has a beautiful yellow foliage for fall color. So just some more insights about, the Ginkgo tree. And now we're looking at an Acer Palmatum Seiryu. This one is for $695. So most lace leaf Japanese maples typically are what you call cascading or weeping. Acer Palmatum Seiryu is a lace leaf type of Japanese maple, but what makes it interesting and unique is it's an upright lace leaf, which is very rare, again, because most of the lace leaf Japanese maples tend to weep or cascade. This one actually grows up upright. So I really like that a lot. And what's even more interesting about the Acer Palmatum Seiryu, which is also translated as more of like the blue dragon Japanese maple, is it can tolerate really hot weather, full sun. It's got a little bit more tolerance with that, which makes it a good candidate to even grow in Texas landscapes. And I'm going to walk over here and show you another Ginkgo biloba Saratoga. Now, Ginkgo biloba Saratoga is another upright type ginkgo. This one can get very large as well. I really like this this ginkgo tree. Ginkgos make good bonsai specimen as well. So if you are looking at growing bonsai and wanting cultivars, ginkgo trees are a great specimen to do that because their leaves are a little bit more compact. They have really nice fall color interest. That bright yellow is amazing. And you can see we've got another Acer Palmatum. That's just a regular green seedling. So it's not a cultivar, but what gorgeous looking ginkgos. And you can see here's another Ginkgo biloba Saratoga here. This one's for $175. I wish I could grow a lot of ginkgos, but again, ginkgos, when you think about it, they are slower growing. However, these ones like the Saratoga can get very large. I have a Ginkgo biloba autumn gold, which can get up to 70 to 80 feet tall. So obviously that's going to take forever. I may not live that for it to get to that size, just because they are such slow growers. But whenever you see a ginkgo that is that large, I'm telling you, it is amazing. Whenever I visited California, they've had some huge ginkgo trees, and they are just absolutely stunning. I love the leaf shape of ginkgos, and you can see right over here, they've just got a lot of varieties. Now, one of my favorite type of dwarf ginkgos that I want to get in my collection would be a Ginkgo Jade Butterfly. Now, this one is for $225. I don't know, this one's already sold because it's got that pink ribbon, but I want to get one of these because, again, ginkgo trees, especially if you live in Texas, they are so tolerant when it comes to that 100-degree summer weather that they never die on me. Now, Ginkgo biloba Summer Gold is one ginkgo that I love. This one is for $350. I ended up getting one of these actually about 5 years ago. It was literally a twig like this, but when I feature my next my outdoor garden, my outdoor landscape, you will see how amazing it's grown. It is now about 15 feet tall, and that is actually a good size for the for 5 years, and I can't wait for it to continue to grow. Ginkgos are one of my favorite trees. I would say it's actually my favorite tree if I were to pick a tree, but obviously my love for Japanese maples, I really can't pick a lot of Japanese maples as being one of my favorite because they have so many different varieties. Now, with Ginkgo biloba, this one is Chi-Chi. This is another semi-dwarf form. This one's for $525. Now, with ginkgo trees, if you're going to grow ginkgos in the landscape, what you want to do is actually get the pH level to be, changed. So actually adding lime, garden lime into the soil will make the ginkgo establish its roots a little bit better. It doesn't really like acidic soil, so you want to actually change it by adding lime into the soil. They do very well, and it actually helps establish ginkgos. It actually makes ginkgos grow a little bit more vigorous. So that's just a little bit of a tip that I would have. Now, if you really want to get more ginkgos, you can also try another mail order nursery. I would recommend mrmaple.com or mendocinomaples.com. Those are two other maple nurseries that I have been able to buy Japanese maples and ginkgo trees from. Obviously, the majority of my Japanese maples have come from Mature Maples because, look at the selection. And I'm showing you most of the more established large versions. Now, this is an Acer truncatum fire dragon. Now, what makes this Shantung maple interesting is Shantung maples, their fall color is actually yellow. But the fire dragon, which was actually discovered at this nursery, it has a fiery red fall color, and that's why they call it the Acer truncatum fire dragon. Now, this is another Ginkgo biloba. This is a troll for $495. Now, this would take quite a bit. I would say it would take at least 10 to 15 years for something like this to get this large. This is probably one of the most dwarf or unique type of Ginkgo bilobas because you can see the leaves are so small and compact. It would be an amazing specimen for bonsai just because of that compact look. And then right over here is just an Acer Palmatum seedling. So this isn't a cultivar. It's literally just a regular Japanese maple seedling. And this one is for $495. I've got two green Japanese maple seedlings growing, and they actually are very vigorous growers. They are a little bit more tolerant when it comes to sun, and their leaves don't typically burn. They also have Japanese black pine. This one is called kotobuki. So I also like pines. That's something I would like to be able to grow. You know, conifers and Japanese maple kind of go hand in hand. But you can see that they've got some trolls here. I would love to actually get a troll. And again, with Ginkgo bilobas or Ginkgo trees, they are grafted onto a regular Ginkgo just a regular Ginkgo seedling. So that's really interesting. And what's interesting too is Ginkgo trees have a male and female. Now the Ginkgo trees that you will buy at most nurseries like Metro Maples are a male form, because Ginkgo female Ginkgo trees actually produce a fruit, and that fruit, when it falls into the ground, has a very distinct, not very pleasant smell. So usually most nurseries that offer Ginkgo trees will often offer male Ginkgo trees, just FYI. And you can see right over here, we've got some more Acer Palmatum Shishigashira. You could see how compact the leaf is on this particular Japanese maple. Now with Shishigashira, this Japanese maple isn't as tolerant with like full sun. The leaves will burn, but you can see how like compact this leaf is. It's definitely got a different look as compared to the Acer Palmatums that we've seen or other Japanese maples. But needless to say, I love the texture. It definitely is a unique look, and it is one of the oldest type of Japanese cultivars out there. And then right over here, we've got another gorgeous looking Japanese maple, a red one. And let's go look at the plant ID for this. This one, I can't really read, but this is another one I would say is a little bit more of a dwarf type Japanese maple. And then you can see right over there, they've got another Shishigashira. And I am just going to keep walking over here. If you ever visit Metro Maples in the fall, I will tell you that is the best time to visit because of all of the different types of fall colors. It is amazing. This one is an Acer Palmatum Kamagata, or what you call eagle's claw Japanese maple, because when you look at the leaves very closely, it looks like claws, and I really think that's cool. Now that Japanese maple is actually a lot more heat tolerant than most, so you can grow them in southern landscapes. And then right over here is another large Japanese maple. This one is, I forget the plant ID for it. Ozakazuki, which is another very, very classic, very old Japanese cultivar that dates back hundreds of years. So you can see that a lot of these older Japanese maple cultivars have been cultivated hundreds of years ago. And here is another gorgeous looking Satsuki azalea. Look at that. I love the edging on the leaves. I am so happy I was able to buy two Japanese Satsuki azaleas from Scott and Metro Maples last year. It was the first year I planted them in the ground, and this year they're producing some gorgeous blooms. I want to show you that. So plant foldies, if you made it this far, please make sure you are hitting the like button and just leaving comments for me. And I'm just going to admire all of the different types of colors and just show you what the gorgeous beauty of Japanese maples can offer in your landscape. as you can see, we've seen many different textures of leaves, colors, and right over here is a classic and highly sought after Acer Palmatum Mikawa Yatsubutsu. Now this one is one of the more slower growing Japanese maples, but I would say if you ask anybody who collects Japanese maples, Mikawa Yatsubutsu is probably one of their favorite types of cultivars. And I'm just gonna walk through over here and show you some more Satsuki azaleas. Now their Satsuki azalea bloom, it's not in full bloom yet, but when you visit this place and all of their azaleas are in bloom, it is just a sight to behold. And that's the reason why I love featuring local plant nurseries in the DFW market. There's so many varieties, and I know we're just touching base on outdoor gardening, so I hope you guys are open to looking at outdoor gardening as well, because I love landscaping as much as I love taking care of tropical aeroids and philodendrons and all of that. But you can see that there is just another type of plant care involved when it comes to Acer Palmatum. This is an Acer Palmatum Geisha gone wild. This one has some really nice red on red variegation. You can see right over here that subtle variegation, red on red. Now there are a lot of variegated types of Japanese maples, and even the degrees of how red a Japanese maple, how long it holds on to the red, varies from cultivar to cultivar. But again, Acer Palmatum Geisha gone wild is another beautiful Japanese maple. Now this one is an older Acer Palmatum Mikawa Yatsubutsu. It is one of my favorite ones because you can see how the leaves are just layered onto each other, and look at how it just clumps up. Now this one I would say is a Japanese maple, probably that is 30 plus years old if I were to guess, because Acer Palmatum Mikawa Yatsubutsu is one of the most slow growing Japanese maples. Now they have been able to get different types of what you call Mikawa type Japanese maples. There are more varieties, but that is the original one. And then this one is an Acer Palmatum Crimson Queen. Now this is one of the classic weeping type lace leaf Japanese maples, and one that you will see in landscapes. And you can just see how different colors, different varieties of Japanese maple, when you plant them together, just give a different look. I love how some actually broom up and fan, like this particular Acer Palmatum Japanese maple. Not sure what it is, and you can see right here, this is a different type of Acer. This is an Acer Pictum Usugumo, or what you call a batwing maple. So this isn't an Acer Palmatum or a Japanese maple. It's called an Acer Pictum. So it's a different type of maple, but needless to say, it's another great companion plant when it comes to Japanese maples. There are some people who actually just strictly collect maples. I would be one of them that would hoard different types of maples. Unfortunately, I don't have all of the spaces for it, and the majority of these types of maples, like Japanese maples, really prefer more cooler weathers like the Pacific Northwest. But hey, I'm gonna attempt to do it, because if Metro maples can grow Japanese maples, then there's hope for all of us out there. Right over here is another Acer truncatum. These are different types of cultivars. I don't have the specifics on it. And then they have some type of, I think this is a Japanese black pine. And I'm going to walk over here and show you guys the gorgeous looking koi pond. And then the area where they sell more of their smaller type 1 gallon Japanese maples, which is typically what you can buy at a mail order type Japanese maple nursery that you can get online. But you can see right over here, they've got some more large maples, and we're gonna walk over here, and I'm not really gonna do a lot of talking. I'm just gonna enjoy the beautiful koi pond that they have over here. So I love the sound of the water, and they've got so many koi here, and apparently these koi continue to just reproduce year after year. I love that they have this little Japanese garden feature, and that's the thing about going to Japanese to Metro Maples. You can just enjoy the scenery if you're not gonna buy the plants. Someday I'd love to be able to have something like this in my backyard, where I have a water feature with some Japanese koi and maybe some fancy goldfish. And I'm going to walk over here and show you a very special tree. This is the original Acer truncatum fire dragon. So this is the one, this is basically the mother plant. So they will take scions or cuttings of this particular Shantung maple and graft it onto like a Shantung regular seedling to create more Acer Palmatum fire dragon. What's interesting is we talk about big box store plant shopping. I was telling Scott that I actually saw Acer truncatum fire dragon featured at being sold at a Home Depot that was literally 5 minutes away on where I live, and that they thought that was interesting. But it's really interesting how I was able to go to this nursery and see the original Acer truncatum fire dragon. So it's a sight to behold, especially in the fall when all of these leaves are red. And here is another favorite of anybody who collects Japanese maple. This is an Acer Palmatum Mikawa Yatsubutsa. This is actually one of the more iconic ones that you will see, just because you can see a lot of these people. If you talk to anybody who loves growing Japanese maples, the Mikawa Yatsubutsa is one of the most gorgeous looking ones. I love the clumping of the leaves. They're just really interesting. And then right over here, you can see some more Japanese maples. These are the more dwarf varieties. And I really like this one. Look at this. This is an Acer Palmatum Otohime, and you can see that this Japanese maple is a very old one, but you can see that it will only get as tall as about 2 feet, and then it just spreads. What a gorgeous looking Japanese maple this is. And you can see that it's got very compact, very small leaves. And I want to get one of those Japanese stone lanterns. This one right over here is an Acer Palmatum bonfire. It's actually got brighter red leaves, but it looks like it's starting to lose it as the season gets a little bit warmer. But you can see here is where they sell a lot of their 1 gallon, 3 gallon and 5 gallon Japanese maples. Now, all of these Japanese maples that you see, the smaller varieties, what I love about it is it starts at 25, 35, and 45. And even through the pandemic, they have never changed their prices. These are the pricing that Japanese maples are available. And you can see they have them, they got different types of varieties, and they've got the name and the plant ID as well as the care tips. And like this one right here is for 25. Now, if you were to buy like at a mail order type of Japanese maple, you typically spend about $45+ just for a 1 gallon, but you can go here and buy $25 Japanese maples for 1 gallons, which I think is just such a good price. So if you're wanting to get a variety, like this one is an emperor, a red emperor, emperor one. The one that I showed you guys earlier, this is how it starts off. Is just how small it is. Now, all of these are personally grafted by Scott Hubble. So every single Japanese maple you see right here have been meticulously and carefully grafted by himself. And when I asked him how many Japanese maples did he graft for this season that are still getting ready to be put out, he said about 8,000. So there is such a huge demand for Japanese maples. So these are the ones that were grafted from last year. But the grafting house that he has, and I was able to actually see it one time, he has so many varieties that they still have to pot up. So that's just really interesting. And you can see here, look at how gorgeous this Satsuki azalea is. This one is actually almost in full maximum bloom. Gorgeous looking Satsuki azaleas. I want to be able to grow more Satsuki azaleas. Like, I want my backyard to have these canopy trees and just have so many Japanese maples and azaleas. Now, azaleas are acid loving, so they make great companion plants for the Japanese maple. And you can see that they haven't fully stocked all of these yet. All of his grafts are still in the graft house, but give it a couple more weeks and you will see even more Japanese maples. So if you want to start collecting Japanese maples and you are a local plant foley or somebody that lives in the Dallas North Fort Worth area, come out to Metro Maples. you will get addicted. I was at one point addicted to just buying so many different types of cultivars, but then I quickly realized that I didn't have the type of growing conditions that are conducive to Japanese maples. So I waited on buying more because I ended up killing a couple of them. Some of them just literally couldn't handle the heat because I didn't have the shade in right conditions. So I backed off a little bit, but now that my plants and my trees are starting to get a little bit larger, I may be able to add some more in the couple years down the line. Now, here are some more Ginkgo biloba trees here, the different types of cultivars. And again, all of these different types of Ginkgo biloba are all grafted by Scott and his team. They've got a really tight-knit team here. And what I like is when you make an appointment, you can tell them what your growing conditions are, and they'll be able to find the specific Japanese maple that's going to fit your landscape. And right over here, I actually was wanting to buy one of these. These are cascading Ginkgo biloba. So those are the weeping ones. I would like to make one into a bonsai. So every time I go to Metro Maples, I'm inspired to do bonsai. And you can see these are Acer Palmatum seedlings. So these are basically Japanese maple trees that grew from seed. So they're not a specific cultivar. That is basically like the original looking plant. But even then, with every type of seedling, the genetics are different. Some of them might be a little bit more weeping. Some of them might be more upright in growth. And that's what makes the different types of cultivars. And you can see right here, look at how gorgeous these red Japanese maples are. Absolutely stunning. I am inspired to do bonsai trees again. And so for those that are finding my channel because of Metro Maples, welcome. And I hope that we can continue to grow and build onto our plant community where we feature different types of plants. Here is another Acer Palmatum Arakawa. This is again another cork bark maple, the one with the rough bark. These make amazing specimens for bonsai just because it makes it look a little bit older. And that's the thing. Japanese maples actually become even more precious and valuable with age. It's like aging a fine wine. The older it gets, the better it's going to be. And you can see they've got more Japanese maples right over here. So for those that are into bonsai, you can actually go to Metro Maples and buy a bunch of these starter Japanese maples and get them into bonsai pots. So we'll see what that looks like right over here. And you can see this one is a Acer Palmatum Pixie. So this one is more of a dwarf Japanese maple. And one of my favorite Japanese maple, and anybody who loves variegated plants, look at this. Acer Palmatum Butterfly. Do you see that? That is gorgeous. This one is highly variegated. Now, the thing about Acer Palmatum Butterfly in hotter conditions, the variegation doesn't last as long. It starts to green up in the summertime, but if you are in the Pacific Northwest, you can even get some pinks, some whites. This is one of the classic variegated Japanese maples. It's one that I would hope to be able to grow into a bonsai someday. These ones are grafted Acer Palmatum butterflies, but Scott actually has some Japanese maples available that were from cutting, so there's not a graft, which makes it more ideal to make into Japanese maples. And all of these 1 gallon ones are only for $25. So if you live in Oklahoma or even neighboring states, you might want to take a field trip out to Metro Maples, load up your truck, your van, or your car and get a bunch of Japanese maples. He has a lot of varieties. Again, he not only offers Japanese maples, there's different types of maples that they offer. They offer suboliatums, pictums. They've offered different types of truncatum. So this might be new to a lot of you plant folies, and I hope that you've stuck around this long to really look at these Japanese maples, because this is another type of plant that I absolutely love. And that goes to show that you can love different types of plants. You can love, tropical indoor aeroids, flowering plants, and even as refined as of a culture as Japanese maples, because there is a huge following for Japanese maples. And I love sharing my enthusiasm for y'all. And you can see right here, this is an Acer Palmatum Abigail Rose, and that is only for $25, which is not bad at all for these starter plants. And we're going to walk over here, and you can see that this is somebody that has bought all of these Japanese maples. I believe it's for a master gardening society out in Fort Worth. So I really like the fact that they buy it from, Metro maples, because aside from the large trees, most of these plants are personally grafted by Scott Hubble. So he's a very talented man. He even has all of these Satsuki azaleas. Now, when you think about Satsuki azaleas, they are very hard to find in a regular plant nursery. These are some of these hard to find Satsuki azaleas that have been imported from Japan and have grown. This is a Satsuki azalea kusudama. And I make kusudamas, which are in origami form. But anyways, I definitely want to buy this Satsuki azalea at some point. Yep, this is for $25. And the fact that I was able to get some of these 1 gallon Satsuki azalea from Scott is really amazing. They've grown well for me, and I really like that lavender look about it. So I'm not going to buy this today, but I'm definitely coming by and checking this out. Now, Scott Hubble actually has an extensive bonsai collection that he has created himself. Someday I would love to be able to see his bonsai, but I have these Satsuki azalea that I bought from him last year, and that's the thing that makes this plant nursery, this maple nursery, very unique. And you can see he's got more Satsuki azalea. Now, obviously, these have just started to bloom, so we have to just wait a little bit longer in the season to see them bloom. But, that's one I will be collecting from him. And you can see that this open space right here is typically a sea of small Japanese maples ready to start for your collection. But right now, it's just a slightly bare, but wait a couple more weeks and that is going to be full. Obviously, if you like this content, please make sure you've hit the like button. And I will definitely feature this nursery again and again, just so we can have a little bit more variety for you guys to take a look at. And I just want to show you more different colors of Japanese maples here. And you can see how you can pair different types of Japanese maple, like this Acer Palmatum Orange Dream. This one is for $195. That is already a pretty good size. When you put more of those yellow type foliage Japanese maples right next to a bright or even dark red Japanese maple, they really pop. And so there's just different varieties. Like this one even has a different texture of its leaves. This one is a Benikomachi, Acer Palmatum Benikomachi. Look at that red, but when you put that yellow and red maple together, that just really makes the landscape great. It is one of my dreams to be able to grow so many Japanese maples in the ground and have my own little Japanese maple garden. There's just so many things that I want to do with plants, and that's the joy of growing plants. When you find different varieties, I'm a little bit more obsessive when it comes to plants. So when you talk about like getting that specific tropical plant and getting different varieties of it, it's the same thing with Japanese maple. Like this one right here is an Acer Palmatum Suminagashi. That is another traditional, very old Japanese cultivar here, and you can see how the light just shines on it. There is a certain level of peace that you get when you look at Japanese maples in a landscape, and I highly recommend anybody making a trip out to Metro Maples. If you are ever going to make it out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, please go out to Metro Maples. They are awesome, and you will be able to see gorgeous plants like this. This one is a Acer Palmatum Otohime. That one is for $75. That is not a bad price at all, considering how large that plant is already. And I am almost at a loss for words when it comes to just going over to this Japanese maple farm. I'm just really impressed that a lot of this, it really takes a lot of patience to grow Japanese maples. It's not instant gratification. It takes time. And when it comes to these specific maples, there really is a level of culture that is involved in it. It's a very refined way of growing plants. There's a lot of care to it. There's a lot of pruning that is involved in keeping these shapes. And you can see that they're a little bit more pricey. Like I will say they're a little bit more pricey, but when you think about all of the work and effort it takes to grow a tree like this, and just the different types of colors and variety, I mean, I think it's well worth it. There are some Japanese maples I would say are priceless. There's no way like I would sell any of the maples that have taken a while for me to grow. And with Japanese maples, my care tips would be a lot of them really need protection from the afternoon sun. They need very good, fast draining soil. They prefer acidic soils. You don't really want to prune them right in the fall because of the sap. They need that to feed themselves when they are actually in dormancy. And that's basically it as far as Japanese maples. You can grow them in containers, but they are a little bit more tricky, especially when you live out in Texas, just because of the watering. Like, you don't want to overwater them, but at the same time, you don't want to underwater them because they will quickly burn and crisp up. So that's just the thing. I say if you're going to grow Japanese maples, especially in the deep south where it's got hot summers, you might want to consider just growing them directly into the ground where they get a lot of shade. And I'm showing you these. This is one of my favorite Japanese maples. This is an Acer Palmatum Mikawa Yatsubutsa. These ones are not badly priced at all. I was gonna buy one this year, but I'm thinking I'm gonna give myself one more year to save some money and buy one that is large. I did see one that was really tall. You can actually graft the scion up a tree that's a little bit higher, so you can get more height. So I believe that maybe some of these Mikawa Yatsubutsas were grafted on a taller tree, but you can see that one's for $450. This is the one I was actually considering to get because this is a good 5 feet tall. And to see a Mikawa Yatsubutsa that tall takes time. And look at that. Look at that light. I am literally at a loss for words, so I'm just gonna stare and look at some of these plants before I end this video. So plant foldies, let me know what you guys think so far of this Japanese maple nursery and this new content that I have. Don't worry, I will still feature big box store plant shopping videos. I'll have one for you tomorrow. But again, I want to diversify our plant content to show you different types of plants. Just know that if you love Japanese maple, Satsuki azaleas, and bonsai, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel because I will be featuring that. That is something that I'm highly interested in. It's one thing that I've always been into, and now that I have this platform to be able to show you guys different types of plants, it's just really exciting. So plant foldies, this has been a treat. I was really honored to be able to feature this nursery for y'all, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed it. To Scott and his amazing crew that always welcome me with open arms, I want to say thank you so much for letting me film your plant nursery, and I really hope that those who have seen these gorgeous Japanese maples and this will actually go in person. It is hard to capture how gorgeous and beautiful this plant nursery is on camera. You really have to go visit it in person, and you can see right here, this is one of the most stunning looking ones. This is an Acer Palmatum emerald lace. Look at that, how gorgeous it is. And again, please make sure you are hitting that like button and hitting the subscribe button. Visit Metro Maples. This is the address to them. Just make sure you call to do an appointment unless you want to visit on Saturdays when it is open to the public. The best time to visit is in the morning. I would recommend that. This is Richie at Grow Folds. Thank you for watching. And as always, please hit the like button, subscribe, and sorry I didn't say Hydra Helix this time, but I will see you on the next one. Bye.